7 games played in this match week. Arsenal against Manchester City doesn't take place, of course, because of Arsenal's participation in Europe. We've had 2 games played on Tuesday. No goals between Brighton and Nottingham Forest. Palace with that comeback win over Wolves at Selhurst. As far as today's concerned, well, Southampton picked up their first win in 6 at Bournemouth. Shea Adams scoring after just 9 minutes. Goalless between Brentford and Chelsea in West London derby. Liverpool make it back-to-back league wins. They beat West Ham with Darwin Núñez opening his Anfield accounts. West Ham seeing a first-half penalty from Jared Bowen saved by Alisson. Miguel Almiron got the winner for Newcastle against Everton. 3 wins in 4 now for the Magpies. Manchester United beating Spurs by 2-0 and there are 2 games on Thursday. Fulham against Aston Villa and Leicester City at home to Leeds United. So with the top 2 not in action this match week, it was pretty much down to the chasing pack. Arsenal at the top, 4 points clear of the Sun. They're on 27. Manchester City second with 23. They've now both got a game in hand over Spurs, who are also got 23 points. Chelsea fourth, 3 points behind Spurs. Newcastle's win sees them stay 6th, but 2 points off the top 4. Liverpool up to 7th after today's win. They are on 16 points. At the other end, well, unsurprisingly, Leicester, who don't play until tomorrow, they stay bottom, 5 points from their 10 games played. Forest have played. They played a game more than the Foxes. They're on 6, with Wolves in the bottom, 3 on 9. As are Aston Villa and Leeds United. Leeds dropped to 16th, Everton down to 15th. Southampton, well, their victory means they're up to 14th on 11 points. They're 2 clear of the drop zone. You touched upon it, Michael. Was that arguably their best performance of the season?
Yeah, I thought it was, and Owen touched upon the reason that it was only 2, and that was the goalkeeper, Lloris. He made a string of very good saves. I thought they were dominant throughout. All those shots that you just mentioned, Manish, I mean, that's good going against any team. Certainly one of Tottenham standing. So I think, Eric Ten Hag will be very pleased with the progress that they're making. The one blot on their copybook obviously was getting a good beating by Manchester City, but apart from that, they're flying. They're doing really well at the moment.
Oh, and what impressed you in particular about that performance today?
Well, first of all, keeping a clean sheet. Any team that's got Harry Kane and Son in it, and you're keeping a clean sheet. I thought Martinez and Varane were fantastic. David De Gea barely had any work to do. Hugo Lloris on the other end, he had to make 8 saves. That's the second most of any keeper in the season. So 2-0 probably could have been, we said before, could have been anything, 4, 5 or 6. So I thought United played great, and that was probably the football that I think United fans probably would have anticipated, the Ajax football that Erik ten Hag played at Ajax, that whole brand of football where they dominated games in possession and they're aggressive, they score goals. And that felt like the most Erik ten Hag performance really we could have expected from his Ajax side. And it's come to United now, and I think that bodes well. I think United fans will be absolutely delighted with that.
Yeah. The timing of the nature of that performance, I suppose, is also quite crucial, the fact that they go to Chelsea at the weekend.
Yeah, well, as I mentioned before, I mean, they've already played Manchester City away, then they've played Arsenal, Tottenham and Liverpool, in the first 10 games or so of the season. And now it's Chelsea. So, I mean, once they get through that Chelsea game, you'd like to think there's a little bit of calmer waters, let's say, in the future. And but notwithstanding that, they've been picking up results anyway, and they're starting to look like a team. At long last. I think there's still lots to come from them, don't get me wrong. They don't look like the finished article, but, there's a few good teams that they've played at home and they've swatted them all aside.
Yeah, let's have a look at the first goal by Fred. I mean, there was a huge deflection, it has to be said. But what it does do is, it kind of almost shows his renaissance, does it not, within this Ten Hag lineup, Owen?
Well, it does. I mean, look, with Fred and Casemiro at the base, Bruno can be the creator there. I thought Casemiro was brilliant, but Fred, then he can arrive in the box later on. Okay, it's a fortunate deflection, Mo, but obviously the template and the blueprint's there for them.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, Lloris was saving virtually everything that came to him, but he had absolutely no chance with this. I mean, this takes a deflection and literally scrapes the paint of the post. No question at all that the goalkeeper can't do anything about that. Very unfortunate, but again, it's the pressure that Manchester United were putting on Tottenham, and no one can say that they didn't deserve that lead. Yeah,
it's no coincidence that Fred is flourishing, shall we say, with Casemiro. The two, of course, play for their national side. Does it always translate that way? from international to club level?
Not always, no, but they're both experienced players. I mean, I defy anybody that's half decent not to be able to play alongside Casemiro. He just reads the game so well. He must be a joy to play with. That experience, that know-how, that winning mentality that he's got. And Fred, lots of people can ridicule him. Lots of people can say he's been indifferent, let's say, in a Manchester United shirt. But, he has got a place in this squad. He can, show at times some good play, and obviously Ten Hag fancies him at the moment. So I think Casemiro is here to stay, whether it's McTominay or Fred, but I think he likes that formation with two sitting players. And then they've got so much attacking ability, and as we touched on all the shots that they had today on goal, they don't necessarily need any more potency coming from midfield. They're creating enough already.
What do you think, Owen? Is that a regular pairing to be fielded in the future?
Well, probably. Depends on the opposition. Obviously, when you play a side... I mean, Eriksen's needed a rest. He's played virtually every game. But I think Casemiro's the one that's going to come and stay. I think he's going to play all the time. Martinez, obviously, and Varane and Casemiro in front with De Gea. That four together seems like a really solid block. And obviously, I think if they can keep clean sheets with the attacking players that they have... I know Ronaldo didn't start and didn't come off the bench and wasn't happy about it. But the point is... the team look really settled today, defensively, in possession and attacking wise. So that bodes well, and I think Casemiro he's going to play. That's a fact. He looks such a natural there. When you've won 5 Champions Leagues, Mo, you probably have the right to start every game, don't you?
Yeah, and I was going to say it was a slow start, but it wasn't his fault really. Manchester United were winning games when he first signed, so it was hard for Ten Hag to get him back in there. As soon as they got beat by Manchester City, of course, that was the right time. That was the excuse to get him in. Some might say, well, you should have played him against Manchester City. Might not have been beaten as badly as they did, but he's there to stay now. He's a top world-class player.
As for 2-0, Bruno Fernandes, heavily involved throughout the contest, always in the ear of the referee, as almost we've become accustomed to see. But talk to me about the quality of his finish.
Yeah, I just love this type of finish. When people are calm in front of goal, when they pass it into the biggest area of the goal. The ball comes from actually quite quickly, but he already knew what he was going to do. And he actually uses Eric Dyer there to just guide it round. I think he thought he might get the pass here, so he was already setting up for it. But then when it ricocheted off Dyer, it's just a side foot into the corner, and accuracy beats power every time for me.
I mean, he's a fabulous finisher in terms of that final pass and finishing is exceptional. I think when he's kind of the focal point, where he's got the defensive blocker behind him with Fred and Casemiro, then he can just go create. He's got license to drift everywhere. Anthony had a good game. He looked sharp, probably his best game. I know he didn't score, but I thought he did a lot of things really well. Obviously, Marcus led the line as a number 9. They just look really solid, and I think Bruno, when he's the guy, everything kind of runs through him, I think he enjoys that. That goal sums up his quality.
Would you class Bruno Fernandes as a midfielder? There's a reason why I ask.
An attacking one.
Well, I'm guessing he's the highest scorer midfielder.
I'll tell you why. Midfielders, because for United have scored 3 of their 15 goals this season, and they need more goals from that middle third. I mean, obviously Fred's chipped in with a touch of fortune about it, but is that something that Ten Hag will be looking more for?
It's difficult with teams because, you look at one of the best teams over recent years in Liverpool, tell me a midfielder that scores many goals in that team. Fabinho doesn't score many. Henderson doesn't score many. Well, none of them score many for that matter. But they have got full-backs that score and create a few goals, and then they've got, their front three and whoever comes and replaces them. So I think it depends on the dynamic of the team and how they work it. And I think Manchester United aren't going to turn into that. Certainly if Casemiro is playing all the time and Fred's playing all the time, and I know Fred scored today, but they're not going to be prolific. So I think they are going to rely on their front players more so.
Owen? Yeah. As a midfielder yourself, what do you think?
No, it's a good point, but Mo makes the right point. The team has to be successful, and you need to get the goals from somewhere. You look at Liverpool, all those that front three, they were scoring 25, 30 each. For United now, you look at it and go, Martial, is rarely fit, doesn't really score consistently. Marcus has some great games, but the goals aren't really there that you'd like. Cristiano is obviously he's barely featured. Anthony scored a few, so you're not getting one guy that's going to get you 15 or 20 or 30 as it stands. So maybe you do need more goals from midfield if you're not going to get a guy to get you 30 or 40. So Look, you need to get the goals from somewhere. You don't get them from the fullbacks, really, the way United play. So at some point, somebody's going to have to step up and take the lead. You know, obviously Tottenham, you look at Kane and Son.
Yeah.
You know, they don't have many goals outside of that. I think for United, they got a lot of good players. Who's going to be the guy? Mo was the guy that got you 30, 40 a season.
I never scored that many, but I know what you mean.
You've done him a service there. But you see, the thing is, they went into this game with a goal difference of -2. You know what I'm getting at is the fact that the overall goal output isn't kind of correlating with the kind of the type of quality players they've got in that attacking third. I mean, now it's 0 after the win today.
Yeah, but Benish, they conceded, 4 off.
They've had a couple of heavy
6
results.
off City. You know, that's the problem. If they keep clean sheets, and and they start defending a little bit better, like they did against mentioned Arsenal, Liverpool, and now today. They'll be fine. United. Okay, there's not many cities out there that they're scoring 5 and 6 a game. But I think United, if they can keep clean sheets or only concede 1, that attack will score 2 or 3 a game. I'm sure of it.
And could it easily have been a lot more, wasn't it? Not for Hugo Lloris's goal.